So today we're going to take a look at yet another social media couple dressing their child up, cross-dressing their child, and this has been a very big thing. We've heard a lot in the news about these drag kids lately. That one that goes by the name Desmond is amazing. They even brought him to a gay bar and they had men throwing money at him as if he was a male stripper, and this has been talked about a lot. But since we are talking about gender issues with children, small children, I'd like to share with you a conversation that I had with my wife the other day. We were walking through the mall and I said to her, I'm not such a Nazi that I'm gonna freak out if my son picks up a Barbie doll or something like that. And she said to me, well, I am. And this is very amusing because even though I disagree with her and we have plenty of time to discuss this, I thought that's a very good sign. Anytime you can find a woman that's so traditional and so conservative, much more than I am, or much more than you would be, if you can find a woman like that, a good trad woman, stay with that woman, she's a keeper. The reason I don't freak out about that kind of thing if my son were to pick up a Barbie doll or even want to maybe try on some of mom's clothes or a girl's piece of clothes is because boys, they're naturally very curious, and a lot of the times they do these things just because they're interested in women. Women are a mystery to us guys, especially young boys, and they want to somehow find out what they're all about. So that's why I wouldn't overreact, but stick around to the end of this video and I'm going to give you some tips to help you raise a masculine child. These are going to be suggestions, but first we're going to take a look at this couple. The man is from Korea, the woman is from Australia, and this couple, they thought it would be cute. They have a big social media following, 95,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I don't know if they're professional social media people, if this is what they do for a living, or what, or if they just want attention. Something we've discussed a lot on this channel is parents that do videos of their kids and then they post it on the internet, which I don't have a problem with, especially if they are some sort of professional social media person. I don't necessarily have a problem with that, depending how it's done. What we've seen a lot lately is parents looking for attention, humiliating their children lately. And this has been a big thing all across YouTube. They even had to delete a lot of channels. That was part of the big Elsagate scandal, if you remember, from several months ago. But there's parents out there that will punish their child on camera because they're virtue signaling, because they want those social media likes, they want that attention, and that's always wrong. If you're causing public humiliation to your own child just so you can get attention somehow, that's wrong. Now this couple, I'm not going to tell them how to raise their child. I'm not going to interfere. It's not really my place to say what's best for their child. My point of doing this video is for you, to give you these tips, to guide you, because I get a lot of questions about this subject. Now the man is from Korea, the woman is from Australia, and first of all, if we take a look at this guy, obviously he's not the most masculine guy out there. And I don't say that because he's a Korean. I've been to Korea. I used to live in a section of Los Angeles called Koreatown, and at my gym I had a lot of Korean friends. But Korea, like most of East Asia, what's very typical in East Asia is men, they're either extremely androgynous or feminine, or it's the other extreme. They're super masculine guys. And in Korea, they have a lot of masculine guys. It's just this guy, I think we know which one he is. But the girl too, she's an Australian woman, and I have to assume she has those typical modern day Australian liberal values, so let's see what she has to say about putting her son in a dress.
I thought it would be really fun to try these clothes on him. Do you think he's gonna look cute in my baby clothes?
No.
I mean, he's cute anyway, so he will be adorable.
So, if anybody has a problem with a little boy wearing dresses, maybe just get over it, because there's nothing wrong with boys wearing dresses.
That's a matter of opinion. That's your opinion, and it's a lot different if your child, your son, happens to become one way and accepting them. But it's totally different to say, I want them to be that way. That's not, you're not gonna find the average father saying, I want my son to be this way. So keep that in mind. I'm not talking about when your kid is one thing, regardless of whatever it is, what kind of lifestyle he lives. Your kid could be into drugs, he could be in a gang. That doesn't mean that you just totally don't accept him and you don't love him anymore. Of course, any good parent is going to love and accept their child, but that's a lot different than saying, you know, I want or don't want something for them.
And if you see like all the historical drama or movies, they wearing dress. The men wearing high heels. So
yeah, that is right. Also in Korea, you had like hanboks and everything like that. Yeah. Wearing robes, wearing things that are dressed like is completely normal.
Now you see what they're talking about here is cultural outfits. If you go to a Muslim country, you typically see a lot of guys wearing those super long shirts that go to their ankles. If you go to Scotland, you see men, you know, especially at least in the old days, maybe wearing a kilt. No one's like, hey, that guy's wearing a dress. Or if you go into a courtroom, the judge wears a long robe. None of this is really associated with femininity. So she's trying to purposely kind of confuse the two to make you think that, well, this is very normal what we're doing. Now here she goes on and she's showing us this footage of the little boy wearing her old dresses, and of course we're supposed to fawn over it and think it's so cute and so adorable and say this is so wonderful. And this goes on for nearly 20 minutes of this. That's how impressed we're supposed to be. Now, is it cute? Of course not. Now, why do we want our sons to be masculine? Well, one reason is so they can attract a good mate. All the best women, they're going to go after those chads. They're going to go after those 10 out of 10 men. Men that are masculine, men that are good looking, NFL players, professional athletes, those types. Now, I don't know, this woman would probably say, no, I like the soy boys like her husband. But in reality, most of us don't really believe that. Now maybe that's the case, but she's the exception to the rule. And now I would say it's one thing if a kid just has some sort of natural curiosity and he wants to try on those female clothes or play with a Barbie doll. That's something that he has the urge to do on his own. But that's not what's happening in this video. The mother is actively putting him into dresses. This is not something that he was asking to do. This is something she's putting upon him. Her wants, her needs, her desire for attention by putting this video out there. One of the current buzz terms is toxic masculinity, and for the average father, that's something I think we're hoping for our sons. We would love if we sent our kid off to the public schools and they said, look, we had to kick your boy out of school. He's just too masculine. He's oozing this toxic masculinity. All the trans students and the soy boys, they can't deal with how macho this kid is. We'd be happy to hear that. Now the reality about toxic masculinity is you hear that all the time, but in reality, there's so many single moms raising boys these days. Anytime there's a divorce, custody almost automatically goes to the mom. So we have all these boys spending all that time with a female influence in their life. And what happens when they go to school? Well, the majority of teachers, elementary all the way through high school, are actually female. So they go to school 8 hours a day or so. They're around mostly females, female authority over them. And then they go home to the single mom and they have the female influence in their life. So toxic masculinity, that's not even an issue. Now you're saying, Travis, I'm a normal dad. I want my son to grow up to be masculine. How can I do that? Well, here's what I suggest. My suggestion is you don't have to try and force things on him. You don't have to try and sit him down and watch masculine movies all the time, action movies. You don't have to push all these things onto him. The best things you can do, in my opinion, is your kid needs a positive male influence in his life, and that's primarily going to come from the father. It's important for fathers just to spend time with their sons. You don't have to force anything. That can be counterproductive. So just spend time, and the kid will come around to your influence, and he can also have other positive male figures in his life, whether that's an uncle, a grandfather, other friends, their friends' fathers. These influences and just spending time with quality men, that's what's going to do it. Now, how do you know if my theories work? Well, I guess check with me in 2 or 3 decades and we'll see how my sons turn out, and then we'll have an answer. But I truly believe that forcing things and trying to mold your kid into one way, more times than not, it's going to be counterproductive. So just spend quality time with these boys. That's what's most important, and have other good quality male figures, especially guys that maybe have strengths in areas where you're weak. So that's the best thing I can tell you. And also remember, when it comes to kids, these type of liberal parents like you see in this video, they often have the philosophy that, well, this makes my kid happy. You hear the parents of that Desmond is amazing drag kid. This makes my kid happy, so I'm not going to deny him. There's a lot of things that will make kids happy. Maybe having dinner of just candy every night would make them happy, but as a parent, it's your job to protect them and do what's best for them. And just because something makes them happy, that doesn't make them right. They might be a terrible person and that's what they want to do. They might want to rob banks. We don't just let our kids do what we do. We're supposed to be the guide in their life. So spend time with your children and make sure they're around other positive influences. Be careful about the media, what they're watching online, the TV, all that stuff. So if you have any other tips, go ahead, leave them. You can disagree with my suggestions or not. Go ahead and let your opinion be known, and be sure to check out our other videos for more good stuff.